time for Voice of Indie. Your hosts today are Beem Weeks, author, producer, and marketing monster for independent multimedia publisher Fresh Ink Group, and Stephen Gies, author, producer, composer, and publisher for Fresh Ink Group.
Hey, good. Happy Wednesday, hump day, everybody. Welcome to the Voice of Indie podcast, episode number 91, edging ever closer to number 100. And that'll be a celebration when we hit that one. I'm your host, Beem Weeks, and with me, as usual, is my co-host, Mr. Stephen Gies, down there in Alabama. How are you doing tonight, Stephen?
I am just thrilled to be here. What an exciting, fun time. Beautiful day out here. I'm 3 weeks out from my surgery, still dealing with some pain and a little bit of debility and stuff, but getting better every day, and that's a good sign, so I'm optimistic. Enjoying the sunshine. We've had the 70s and sunny all week. It's going to be low 80s and sunny all next week, so it's time for springtime in Alabama.
See, if I'd have known you were going to say that, getting better every day, I would have loaded up a song from the rock band Tesla, Getting Better Every Day. Great song. I could have dropped it right there. Yeah, we had... I think we hit a high of 42 today, and it was cold out there. It was jacket weather and just miserable. Came out of the weekend with 82-degree weather, and then we fall right back off into this cold stuff. It's kind of up and down, but we're supposed to get some steady warmth coming next week, so kicking off this weekend. So come on,
baby bird time down here. We got bluebird houses, and we can see they're feeding the babies. We got purple martins, and they're feeding their babies. We got pairs of Canada Canada geese. And by the way, gooses is also a word. We got pairs of Canada gooses out there swimming around with little babies, following them around. And now the wood ducks are all hatching. We got wood duck boxes. So the wood duck mamas go in the boxes and then push the little babies up and out through the hole, and they go plop down into the water. Mama comes down there and grabs the disoriented youngster and leads them around. And after a while, they got half a dozen little baby ducks smaller than your fist, and they're swimming around, just having a good old time. So life is rough down here on the lake.
Sounds like it. Up here, we got birds that are still wearing their winter coats.
Yeah. Now, I do want to give a shout-out to Fresh Ink Group member, successful author and longtime friend of the show and the company, Dr. Helen Burrell. She's not feeling well this week. She's had kind of a rough, scary health week, and she seems to be on the mend a little bit, so we're sending our best to her. And if she participates tonight, that'll be great news. If not, you're in our thoughts, Helen, and we look forward to having you back. And
I mentioned you in prayer this morning, Dr. Helen, so you got that going for you as well.
There you go.
And yesterday I saw it was Carol Burnett's birthday, and I know she doesn't listen to the show, but I just wanted to bring it up because Carol Burnett turned 89 the other day.
Wow.
89. How is that even possible? I love that show. I remember growing up and watching that show religiously, and she's 89 now. She and I believe Vicki Lawrence are the only two left from that show. Everybody else is gone. Yeah,
I got to meet her one time out in L.A., and she's tiny. I mean, she's like 5 feet tall, and she can't weigh 80 pounds. You see her on TV, and you don't really realize that, but you walk up to her and get introduced to her, and it's like, hi, little girl, you know. I mean, she's tiny, but, boy, talk about talent packed into a little container.
Yeah, fantastically funny woman there. Okay, listeners, we have a good guest tonight, a fantastic guest, and we want you to participate. So you can call in or you can join in on Twitter, and here is how you do that.
Call 516-453-9902 right now with your questions or comments for tonight's guest. Or post a note on Twitter with hashtag Fresh Ink Group in the body of the tweet, and we'll read it on air. That's 516-453-9902 or hashtag Fresh Ink Group on Twitter.
All right.
Man.
So I'm going to go first on this one. Then you can run through your thing here. Eerie Charms of the short story by Patricia A. Guthrie is out. So get over to Amazon and grab your copy. And we have a new video for that, a video book trailer, and that's on the Fresh Ink Group YouTube channel. So get over there, hit the like button, subscribe if you're not subscribed. You know the run. And we also have How to Start and Run a Food Truck Business in Florida. That book is out now and available at Amazon and Barnes & Noble, and wherever you buy books online, it's there. And there's also a video for that one, so get over to the Fresh Ink Group YouTube channel and check it out. And we're in the process of building a website. This is going to be kind of cool because this first book is all about starting it in Florida, although there's all kinds of helpful hints for any other state, but she's going to get particular with states and do other ones too. So this website's going to help deal with that. So we'll keep an eye on the newsletter and on Twitter and wherever you keep an eye on this show, and we'll let you know when that website's ready to go and how you can find it.
We've had a fun week trying to solve problems, which is basically an every week kind of a thing around here. We have like about 240-something titles now, more than 70 authors. And back in the day when it was a handful, Ann and I used to regularly go out and check retailers to make sure our books were there and didn't have problems, wrong covers, missing blurbs, things not being paired, like the hardcover and the softcover not being together, those kinds of retailer distribution problems. And every now and then we'd find something, and Ann would get on it and fix it. Well, it's gotten crazy stupid out there now. We put stuff out, and how these things work their way through the channels and wind up in the various retailers, we often just don't understand. But we're getting to the point now to where we do 4 to 6 week pre-sales for every book, because it takes 2 to 3 weeks at least just to solve all the problems. And Lauren, who started out doing this, it was just a kind of a minor nuisance every week or two. Now it's like she's spending hours every day dealing with this stuff. Yesterday I was kind of razzing her about it and telling her, just say the word, and this can be your full-time job. You can let everything else go and just deal with Amazon, and then boom, 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 like within 2 hours we had 4 authors send in notes about, hey, my book's not showing over here, or hey, there's a problem over there, or whatever. So again, I was piling on every time I'd send her one. It's like, hey, here's another one. Get this done by the end of the day, stuff like that. She gets a little bit aggravated. The problem with this, the biggest problem with this is at a place like Amazon, it's constantly changing. So when she figures out how things work, who's in charge of what, which department has the authority to do things, and who she can talk to do them, the next time she tries to do something, it's all changed. It's been moved. We actually went in the last 6 months, for example, dealing with listing issues for books, was all moved over to Author Central. And they had a whole different staff who had no understanding of the publishing industry at all in charge of solving problems. And that just made things worse. So about 6-8 weeks ago, something like that, they moved it all back, except that it's none of the same people. So every time Lauren jumps into this cesspool of trying to solve all these problems, it's a new adventure, no telling what to expect. And those of you that she's trying to help on these things, definitely she earns some gratitude for doing that. But the thing is, it's kind of sad, really. We got 70-something authors, but we got 5 authors, and I can name them. I'm not going to, but we got 5 authors who monitor their books out there on retailers and then tell us, hey, over at Barnes & Noble, you can find the hardcover and the softcover, but you can't find the Nook, or things like that, so that we know what to work on. Now, we actually started an audit 3 weeks ago where Lauren's checking every book at all the major retailers, and this is something she's been working on hours every day, and she's 3 weeks into this, and she's only about a third of the way through it. And she is finding a few problems out there. But listen, whether you're one of our authors or you're an independent author, you're self-published, or you're working with another publisher, whoever you are, you as the author have the responsibility to monitor your books. Check the retailers. Make sure they have the correct blurb. Make sure the right cover is showing. Make sure they're paired. Because just because everything is perfect now doesn't mean it will be in a couple of months, because things change, things shift, stuff happens, or whatever. And maybe we should talk about this in more detail on a future show, but while you're out there making sure everybody has your book listed right, also look for bootleggers who are out there selling your books and pirates and stuff like that, because they're out there too, and sometimes you have to step in and do something about that. So all of you out there who are authors, if you're not watching your books at the retailers, you're dropping the ball. And at Fresh Ink Group, we're trying to do that, but our numbers are getting a little too big for us to keep up on it, so we really would like to count on you authors to do that.
Yeah. Good points. Yeah. In fact, the book piracy thing, I just wrote a blog piece for Story Empire. It's going to be next month. It comes out next month. But that's the subject that I wrote about, was the book piracy thing, because I've seen some of mine out there. And, you got to keep an eye out on that, because these are people that are buying like one copy and then they're making PDFs of it and say, hey, for free, come and check it out. So that's not cool. All right. This is for writers and readers and whatever. If you have a book that you would like to get published, or perhaps you just need a book cover or an editor or a bookler, we've got all those things covered. We can do it all. And here's how you can find that info.
Check out FreshInkGroup.com for everything publishing. Meet scores of authors. Discover hundreds of great books, plus audiobooks, podcasts, videos, trailers, free stories, free manuscript evaluations, and more. That's FreshInkGroup.com.
And speaking of information, are you subscribed to our newsletter? Because if you're not, you're missing a whole lot of really cool stuff, but it's not so much that it's going to bog you down for 3 hours in the morning trying to read through it. It's a 10, 15-minute read, and it keeps you up to date on this show and all things Fresh Ink Group and Voice of Indie. So here's how you can...
And pretty videos.
And yeah, cool videos.
Stay on top of these podcasts and all things Fresh Ink Group with our weekly digital newsletter. New releases, videos, stories, excerpts, interviews, and more. Sign up now on the homepage of FreshInkGroup.com and be the one who knows what's what.
What?
So
I shall show until I do that.
Yeah. I took a quick look at how our print sales are going this week. 30-day aggregates again, as I explained last week, and our number 1 and number 2 slots again are Eerie Charms of the Short Story, Fantasy, Mystery, and Horror by Patricia A. Guthrie, and she is dead even. She is selling, for every softcover she's selling a hardcover. The numbers are identical. Wow. And again, something's happening in the hardcover industry out there, and I'm not used to it, because used to be, for every 95 softcovers you'd sell 5 hardcovers, and they were more of a prestige thing, a nice thing to have at book signings, sitting on the tables and whatnot. But man, they're selling copies these days. And then the other 3 that we have, Hello Chattanooga, famous people who have visited the Tennessee Valley. It's the hardcover that made the list. The softcover dropped out of the top 5, but the hardcover is still in the list this week. And over on Amazon, hint, 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 they're selling the hardcover cheaper than the softcover right now. We never understand why Amazon does that. Sometimes, maybe the shelves get a little bit full or something, so they do a little bit of cleaning out or whatever. But that's an expensive book, because it's 710 pages of full color interior. And the hardcover is like $45, $44.95, I think is the exact amount. And the softcover is $29.95. Well, $29.34 if you want the hardcover right now at Amazon. And my guess is once 1 or 2 people buy those, then that price will start going back up again. So look for that. The other 2 that are on our top 5 right now, Operation Ivy Bells, the first installment in Robert G. Willis Croft's Mac McDowell Mission series, Cold War submarine thrillers. And the other one is The Rise and Fall of a Construction Giant, the history, people, and stories of CFW Construction, which takes place in Fayetteville, Tennessee. It's a nonfiction book. It's the history of this company, how it rose from small town to greatness and then got caught up in scandals and tragedies and just all kinds of interesting things. And this guy is the son of the founder of the company, and he put together the whole history. What I thought would be a popular local book has turned out to be a national bestseller at this point.
Yeah, that's actually a really interesting book. I've read it. It's really cool. I didn't think, well, okay, it's a book on construction, but then you start hearing some of the stories about it. So I checked it out, and man, that's a good book.
And he's putting together another book now too. I'm working on it with him that also tells more detailed history of the area and the people and a lot of the stories behind it. And he gets into some inspirational stuff as well. So we're looking forward to adding that to his other book and hopefully having another bestseller. That's Dick Farrer Jr. is the author, and it's The Rise and Fall of a Construction Giant.
And as you mentioned a minute ago, Operation Ivy Bell, speaking of Robert G. Willis Croft, the Ort Federation Second Ort Chronicle is out now. So get over there and check it out on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, wherever you get your books from. The video is up on YouTube, so go over there and check it out. And the audiobook is in progress right now. As a matter of fact, just before we got into the studio to do the show tonight, we knocked out 2 more chapters in that, and that's coming along nicely. Those are a blast. And we're also in the process of producing Girl Wears Those Shoes by Jenny Wong as an audiobook. Mad Max and Sweet Sarah, that's from Ellie Collins. She's our young author. That's in the process. I'm just getting ready to start that one. I got, I think, the first 3 chapters of that written out, so I'll be starting that probably tomorrow. With Angel's Wings and other books are in the pipeline. So audiobooks, man, growing segment. And speaking of growing segments, we have a growing archive. This is episode number 91, and if you missed any of the previous 90, or you just want to listen to another one again for a second or a third or a fourth time, this is how you do that.
If you miss a show, find us in the archive, in the Fresh Ink Group channel on YouTube, on Spotify, or under the podcast tab at FreshInkGroup.com, BeamWeeks.com, and StephenG's.com. On YouTube, be sure to like and subscribe.
All right.
So let's introduce today's guest. Joe Congel grew up in Syracuse, New York, and currently lives in beautiful Charlotte, North Carolina. He got his first break in the world of publishing when he illustrated the humorous book, House Training Your VCR. Man, mine used to make a mess everywhere. I could have used that book. House Training Your VCR, a help manual for humans, published by Grapevine Publications back in the early 1990s. A few years after House Training set the world on fire, and we all remember it. Everybody talks about it. Where were you when that book dropped? A few years after the House Training set the world on fire, Joe decided that he was better suited as a writer than as an artist. So he began crafting stories that allowed the reader to use their own imagination to add the visuals to the narrative. Since he's enjoyed reading murder mysteries and PI detective stories all his life, he felt he had a pretty good grasp of how to create an engaging character in the world of private detecting. Dead is Forever is the first book in the Rasman Mystery Crime Files series featuring Tony Razzalito, PI. The book is set in Syracuse, New York, and Charlotte, North Carolina. Boy, that just happens to be where the authors live. With upcoming books in the series concentrated more in and around the Charlotte area. Joe is uniquely qualified to write about both areas of the country since he lived in Syracuse for 36 years and Charlotte for the last 25-plus years. When he's not writing, you will most likely find him spoiling his 3 grandchildren. Welcome to the show, Joe.
Welcome, Joe.
Thank you very much. Oh, thanks, guys. I appreciate it. And that was a wonderful introduction. I wonder where that came from. That is awesome.
So, first question, why Charlotte?
Well,
a little different than Syracuse.
It's definitely different than Syracuse. And we were just trying to get out of the Syracuse area. We had some things going on there that were we just needed to get away from, to be honest with you. And we went to Myrtle Beach back in 1995 to just, take the kids to the beach, and we were at the beach and just had a good time. And on the way back, we came through Charlotte, and just it was beautiful weather. This was in April of 1995. It was gorgeous weather. Spring was blooming. It was just kind of like it is right now in April right here. And when we left to go back up to Syracuse, it was getting darker and gloomier and grayer, and the dark, hard snow, piled up on the side of the road kind of thing. And when we got back into Syracuse, it started snowing, which was just amazing because it was April, and it really wasn't amazing that it was snowing, but it was amazing that we had thought about the idea of making this move, and if we were going to do it, let's do it before the kids, get into school and start making friends and making the whole thing a little bit harder. So we made the jump, and we were down here in May, basically a month later. So I did everything back then, trying to get a place to live, jobs, and everything through fax machines and through the phone back then, a regular phone, not cell phone so much. And it was just I don't know. It was almost like throw a dart at a board and see where we went. And Charlotte just happened to work out because as we came through there, it was just beautiful. And we've never looked back, and really, really made a great decision, I think, to come down here.
It is beautiful country. Of course, Syracuse is a beautiful city, too. I mean, you got a waterfall right in the middle of the town, and that's just one of the coolest things. I've always liked visiting Syracuse. But, Charlotte, man, what a gorgeous town in this time of year, and you get the Spanish moss hanging from all the cypress trees, and it's just beautiful country. Beautiful.
It is. City of trees, and that's what we call it. Yep.
So what's happening on Twitter, Beem?
Over on Twitter, we've got Verwayne Greenhall. He says, it's time to go, boys and girls, authors and readers. Bring on the host and put the spotlight on Joe Congel. Speaking of Joe, he said, here we go. And Verwayne says, it was 88 here in the armpit of Florida. Nice breeze to help things along. Well, lucky you.
Yeah.
And Verwayne also says our thoughts are with Helen Burrell as well. So, Dr. Helen, you got a bunch of people. Now, here's one from Robert Williscroft. He said, regarding pirates, I think it's a relatively minor problem. The upside is more distribution for an author's books. Yeah, but if the author isn't really moving a lot of books, you know, it's disheartening to see their books just being given away when they're trying to, some of them are trying to pay down, their tab on what they, paid out for editing or whatever. I first learned about this years ago. I'm talking way, 10 years ago. This is right after Jazz Baby came out, and I found this website that was talking about books, and somebody had asked where they could get a free copy of my book, of Jazz Baby. And it's like, at first I was like, hey, cool. This is somebody that's, talking about getting my book. And I thought, well, I'll drop in there and get his address or something and send him one. But then other people jumped down there and, took him to task and said, look, man, these people, they're busting their hump to write these books. They deserve to get, compensated for it and not just see their work out there for free. It's.
Yeah. On the other hand, a lot of writers are looking at things and thinking they're seeing piracy when it's really not. Because a lot of companies pick up the databases and run the listings with the intention of, if they sell the book, then they'll order a copy from the distributor and then send it to you, thinking, and a lot of the writers think they already have bought copies, and it's like, well, why didn't I get paid for that? So we should talk about this in more detail sometime.
As a matter of fact, I have that written down from a conversation we had a while ago. I got it written down for potential show topics. Yeah. And now, Verwayne Greenhall, he says, my short story, 21 minutes, audio is about to be sent to ACX for approval. Well, congratulations, Verwayne. Good
congratulations. Yeah. So what's this about, the food truck trailer?
Food truck, yeah. Hot dogs, hamburgers, the whole shebang. Well, here's the commercial for the food truck book.
With good jobs so hard to find, especially in rapidly expanding Florida, owning your own food truck could be the best option. It's the least expensive startup, and you can be fully operational in mere months. The rules and regulations can be a bit complex, and no single source has offered all the answers. Until now. How to Start and Run Your Own Food Truck Business in Florida by food truck veteran A.K. Wingler is the step-by-step guide that takes you from good idea to great success. Sure, it's hard work, but exciting, mobile, flexible, and highly profitable. And you get to be your own boss and set your own hours. Proudly published by Fresh Ink Group, this book tells you how and where to make money in this exploding independent industry. Grab your copy in laminated hardcover, glossy softcover, or any of the major ebook formats at retailers worldwide. Even if you're just curious for now, this guide is the best way to discover if a food truck business is right for you.
Yes, indeed. That is available now. Get over to Amazon. Now, we do have a caller on the line. Joe, you want to take a call?
Sure, let's do it.
All right. Hello, caller. Welcome to the show. You're on the air. What's your name and where are you calling from? Hello, caller.
Hello.
Hey.
Hi, how you doing? What's your name and where are you calling from?
This is Robin Joan. Hello.
Well, hi, guys. How you doing?
I'm Joan Carter.
All right.
Hello, Beem and Stephen, and hello, Joe.
Hello, how are you?
Welcome to the show.
Thanks.
You two are fresh off your Meet the Author podcast that shows just before our podcast every Wednesday. You had a good show today?
Yes, we did. And Joe was in the audience and had to hop off of our audience to be on your show.
Yeah, he heckled us, so we're going to heckle him.
Yeah, let's do it.
I'm gonna take notes. I've been wanting to learn how to heckle better.
Well, I guess it's fair, right? I mean, I do pepper them with a lot of questions on their show, so chances are I'm probably going to get it. And that's all right.
Have at it.
We love it, Joe. Don't stop. Yeah.
Joe, you're part of a group of authors that are pretty tight. Can you tell us about the Wolfpack?
Yeah. Well, the Wolfpack Authors is a group that really was formed primarily to, I guess, support each other, kind of a supportive group. It allows us to, kind of talk about each other's work, promote each other's work, and we had decided a couple years back that we wanted to do a little bit more than that. And how could we make something that was going to maybe help a group of folks that maybe had a hard time? And what we kind of looked at was let's do an anthology book where we can all write a short story in our own genre, or whatever genre you'd like to write in, I guess, and we would donate all the proceeds to a nonprofit organization that could really maybe kind of use hopefully the help that we would provide for that. So the first book that we came out with was Once Upon a Wolfpack, and that has right around I think like 18 different writers that participated in that with different short stories and a couple of poems in there. And we took all the profits for that, all the proceeds for that, and it went to Lockwood Animal Rescue Center. And that was a great organization because they help wolves recover, I guess, that are hurt or whatever that, happens to a wolf, I guess. And combat vets, they give them jobs to kind of help work with the wolves. So it's really something that allowed the combat vets to kind of come back in from returning from that combat to get acclimated into, back into life here in the States. And it gave the wolves someone that they could have work with them. So it was a really great organization, and we ended up giving a lot of money from that, all the money from that book really to them. And then the second book, which was called Howling at the Moon, wasn't as big as far as the amount of participation we had with the different types of stories and authors in there, but still was a lot of different stories that you could read, different genres, and we sent most of that money to the Australian wildfire effort, and then also Lockwood. So we did the Australian wildfire effort in 2000, and then 2001 we sent the proceeds to Lockwood again. So it gives you an opportunity to really get an idea of who the Wolfpack authors are as far as the type of stories they can write, and it allows us to help out some groups that could have used our help. So that's really what that was about. And
now I understand that these anthologies are something called free.
They are free right now. Yes, they've come down in price.
Mm-hmm.
They were never really super expensive to start. I mean, we were looking at $2.99 for the ebook versions of those. The paperbacks are a little bit more, but the paperback's no longer available, and it's just the ebook right now, and it is free. So it is an opportunity to get some free stuff, get a free book, get some reading in that won't cost you anything, and it also gives you a look into the world of the Wolfpack authors as a group as far as what type of stories we write. Both of the books have a Razzalito story in them. The short story that I wrote for each book it kind of ties into the other books that I write, but you don't need to read the other books in order to enjoy the story that are in these books. But what's nice about it is if you've not read a Razzalito book yet and you want to get a taste of who Tony Razzalito is, this is a great free way to do it. So
cool. Fantastic.
But we would encourage people to buy the Tony Razzalito book.
Absolutely.
Oh, of course.
Yes.
Of course.
Yes, I would as well. But it is a good way to really, not just read my story, but get an idea of a lot of different authors and what they can offer you. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff in there. I mean, there's shapeshifter type stories. There's I think there's some other cozy mystery type stuff in there. There's fantasy. There's a lot of different types of stories to choose from, and of course, I understand that maybe not every single story in each one of those anthologies may resonate with everyone, but there is something for everyone. So if you do like a particular genre, or you like maybe one of the authors because you've read something else by them, this gives you an opportunity to really get a great reading experience with a lot of different types of work. So
fantastic.
Can't argue with the price. I'm holding out.
No.
I'm holding out till you pay us, but you know.
Yeah. Yeah. The check's in the mail.
All right. We do have another caller, so you want to take this other call?
Sure. Let's roll with the calls.
Thanks for calling in, Robin Joan.
Yes, thank you, Robin.
Thank
You were kinder than I thought you might be, so that was nice. Thank you.
Bye, Joe.
See ya, Joe. Thanks. Bye.
Bye. All right. Let's go ahead. Here we go. All right. Hello, caller. Welcome to the show. You're on the air. What's your name and where are you calling from?
My name is Danny Martini. I'm calling from Syracuse.
Well, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I have
I'm sorry. What was your name again?
Danny Martini.
Okay.
Yeah.
Welcome to the show, Danny.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you. I have a two-part question for Joe. As a future famous author myself, I want to know how you keep the groupies off you.
Yeah.
And if you can help me with that, because I'll need to know. The second question, a serious one, is how do you keep all your characters straight? When you're writing a novel and you've got a dozen characters, how do you keep facts? How do you keep from repeating yourself? How do you keep from making sure that the sequences are correct? That seems like a difficult thing to do. So.
Okay. Well, I'm going to let the first question probably just let that set, and we'll go with the second question, Danny.
But to get back
I
to
think.
That.
Oh yeah, we'll circle back around to that one. But for me, I've got a character sheet. So what I did early on was I just put together a sheet that just has all the different main characters, some of the side characters that I knew were going to end up in most of the stories, and just really put together a bio of each one of them so that I knew what I should know, as we go along as to how they would react to certain things, what they did for a living, where they lived, who they were married to or dating if they were, all that kind of stuff shows up in my little bio sheet of each one of the characters. So that allows me to do that. But I took it a step further and also did it with parts of the city that they were going to visit. Why would they visit there? What draws them to that part of town, so that I can remember that later on if I needed to use it again. I also made sure that I wrote down so I would never forget the office that where Tony Razzolito's office is. Where the PI office is located, what floor it's on, what buildings and type of businesses are around them. Because as we all know, if you're writing a series, you've got to have those type of details correct, because if you don't, someone will point it out that, hey, in book 3, you've got him on the second floor and he's on the other side of Charlotte than he was in book 2, and you didn't mention anything about them moving the business. So you want to make sure that all of that is correct. And for me, the best way to do that is simply to have these sheets that I can refer to. And I don't have to refer to them as much as I used to, but it really was a godsend for me to have that information and taking the time to put it all down on paper first, well, really on the computer, but putting it all down ahead of time just made it much easier for me to just check in if I needed to, just to remember something, or even to make sure that I set the name straight in the very beginning. So that's how I do that. I also, at the very bottom of when I'm writing, I've got a little note section that kind of travels along with the the manuscript as I'm writing it. So as I'm going down the line, those notes are kind of still there, and then I just have to remember, obviously, to delete them out at the very end. But it allows me to kind of just scroll down to the bottom. I can take a quick look at something that because maybe I had a thought, I put it there, and it's easier to get it from there than it is to, I guess, stop what I'm doing, go look it up and find it, or look at a sheet of paper I've got sitting on the desk next to me. I just jot the note down at the bottom of the actual Word document that I'm working with, and then I can just refer to it whenever I need to. So that's pretty much how I keep things straight as I'm going through it. Does that answer your question there, Danny? Do
you give that notes chapter its own chapter name so you can bop right to it, or do I have to scroll every time?
No, it's at the bottom, and I scroll down to it because it just kind of sits there and it kind of clicks down as I'm moving down. So as I'm going through the book, as I'm writing it, and I go from chapter to chapter, the notes just kind of automatically drop down along with it. So it's not hard to get to, and I just roll back down to it. But I generally don't have to go that far to get to it because I really only have to get to it from wherever I'm at that point. So if that makes sense.
That brings me to a third question, if I can take your time. Do you always write sequentially?
Yes, I would probably say I do. In the very beginning, the first book, That Is Forever, not as much as I do now. I did kind of jump around a little bit, and then kind of went back and plugged the chapters in where I felt they would work the best. I did that a little differently than how I work now. But right now, I pretty much do it sequentially. I just go right down the list from point A to point B. I'm a pantser, as they like to refer to it, which I know Steve is not a big fan of, but that's how I do my work, and it works for me. So I do it sequentially. Oh,
Steve is a pantser? That's what you mean?
No, I am. He's not. So.
But I mean, that's what you're saying. A pantser is somebody that.
What's by the seat of their pants. I don't really plot out. I mean, I plot, but I don't plot at the same time, if that makes any sense. All the notes and everything that I do is, I guess, my version of plotting.
Okay. That's all very helpful. Now, the groupie thing, any answers on that?
No, I'll have to get back to you on that one. Thank you very much, Danny. I appreciate your call.
When he gets it figured out, we'll put it in the newsletter for all you people who are just,
that would be great because there's a lot.
Can't wait to find out.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Joe, for your time.
Thank you, Danny.
Guys. Great show.
Thanks for calling, Danny. We
appreciate
it.
We hope some more people out there call.
And just so you guys know, Danny, as he likes to be called, is a friend of mine. He's actually a guy that.
Oh, really? I
know. It's crazy.
From Syracuse?
It's crazy. Yeah, he's up from Syracuse. He's from Syracuse. Yes. He actually is the guy that wrote the book House Training Your VCR, and he's the one I illustrated. So that's who that is. Real name not Danny. So.
Well, we have another caller. You want to jump into another call?
Not. Let's roll a commercial first, Beem. We're getting behind on our commercials, and then we'll come back and take a call.
All right.
So this one's going to be Eerie Charms of the short story.
Lucifer loses his day job, so he starts his own gig. A little girl's tantrum destroys her toys, but will they lash out in revenge? Can a miserable housewife find a new life for herself in a tear-stained old painting? Eerie Charms of the short story, fantasy, mystery, and horror includes a snake deciding the fate of the world, a slot machine choosing life's winners and losers, a malevolent fairy dancing men to their deaths, a couple desperate to escape a train station, the dog show judge facing death, and more great tales. Proudly published by Fresh Ink Group, Eerie Charms is available worldwide in jacketed hardcover, softcover, and all ebook formats. Patricia A. Guthrie offers a cauldron of eerie delights that will please, delight, and yet terrify you.
That is a fantastic collection of short stories. I know, I edited it, and it's just, I mean, she's got a wonderful imagination, does Patricia A. Guthrie. So get out and grab your copy.
And she's selling books. She's our number 1 and 2 bestseller for the last 2 weeks straight now.
All right. Okay, we're going to go to this phone call now. And hello, caller. Welcome to the show. You're on the air. What is your name, and where are you calling from?
Hey, Beem. Hey, Steven.
Hey.
It's Ron from Wide Track.
Hey, hi,
Wide
Ron.
Track.
How you doing?
I'm good. It's been a while since I talked to you guys or had a chance to listen, so I tuned in tonight and just thought I'd say hey.
Zach doing all right?
He's doing great. He just turned 18 the other day.
Yeah, I was going to ask, did he graduate yet? Is this the year he's going to graduate?
Yeah, he's got in a couple weeks, I think. They're graduating early in May, so yeah, he's kind of a big deal right now. But yeah, everything's good. Everything's good. We're writing and just working on our new album and that kind of thing. I've been looking online a little bit on some information on Joe here, and kind of looks like some interesting stuff I look forward to looking into. I've been a big reader of nonfiction for the past 20 years, and just recently I've been falling down the rabbit hole of the thriller genre, and it's given me a new dimension of inspiration for my own writing, but that kind of propels my question to Joe. I'm just curious of where you find inspiration from, and specifically what kind of genres. Do you read the same genre that you write, or do you find it elsewhere? Or
well, I will tell you that it's kind of yes to all of the above, but primarily I do read and am most interested in the same genre that I do write in. It's really why I write in that genre in the first place. I'm a big fan of Robert B. Parker, the late Robert B. Parker, who did the Spencer novels and obviously other stuff. But his work is really, I guess, what inspires me the most, or what did inspire me the most when I first started. So, you know, I liked the simplicity of those stories, but at the same time, you know, you could get into it and really enjoy it, and I found them, you know, a lot to read. So primarily, that's where I got my start as far as inspiration for what type of genre I was going to write in. Now, recently, over the last, I'm going to say probably couple of years, I've branched out and started reading a lot of other genres. I decided to open myself up a little bit more because there's a lot you can learn from reading other genres, especially if you're a writer. And so I guess really maybe a little bit of both, like I said, you know, but primarily I read and got inspired from reading mysteries and crime fiction and that type of stuff. So
I'm finding that I'm kind of really liking this Nordic noir genre, kind of Scandinavian detective serial killer stories. Really
there's some good ones like that out there. Yeah.
There's that stuff's kind of a hit with some of these mini series on Netflix and such as well.
Yeah,
and, that kind of started. But the other question that I guess that I don't want to take too much of your time here. Just I'm curious. I know writing music and writing lyrics and writing books is a bit different, but kind of my approach with things is when I find like the real the overarching idea that feels like a fresh question, so to speak, to ask. I'm wondering if that's something that, like, how do you find what is going to really be your motivating force of what you're writing about? Is it just something that comes to you, or is it something that you're thinking about for a while? Or?
Well, I'll tell you that the books I write are really character-driven stories. So, you know, I really truly believe that the characters can drive the plot, and so everything that I do now is really based on what I think those characters would do in those situations. I mean, realistically, they're telling me at this point what they're going to do and what they're going to say, and if it doesn't fit, I can tell immediately because I can't get it right, you know, from that character's point of view or from that character's mind, if you will. So what I'll do is I'll come up with an idea as to what I want the book to ultimately be about. Like my most current release, Dirty Air, for instance, which has a NASCAR and an illegal street racing theme to it. I knew that was the germ of the idea, and I knew the story would be driven by the characters as to how I would get from point A to point B, if you will. So a lot of that just really comes from that. I mean, I'll decide that this is what I want to write about when it comes to, pretty much every book I've got so far, there's a murder involved. So I know that's going to happen. Now it's just a matter of what the circumstances are behind why someone, felt the need to kill another human. And then the characters will drive the story from that point. So I don't know if that answers your question completely, but that's pretty much the way I look at that.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Stephen Pressfield's nonfiction, his War of Art books and stuff. And one of the things that he says is he wrote the thing about the reign. Oh God, what's his big Gladiator book? Anyhow, he said I didn't know anything about this, but the muse kind of just hit me one day that this is what you're going to write about. You better learn about it. He said when he wrote The Legend of Bagger Vance, I don't know anything about golfing. And but something inside me was that I'm just kind of wondering if that's how it works for you too, or do you have like a preferred area that you like staying in? Or
well, I will tell you in the case of Dirty Air, it's exactly how it worked for me because I knew nothing about NASCAR at all. I'm not a big NASCAR fan. I just live in a part of the world where NASCAR is a really big deal. But even though that's a really big deal, I've only gone to one race in my whole life, and it's only because I won tickets to go to the race. Otherwise, I probably would have went to that one. It's just, where I grew up, it wasn't really a big sport back then, when I was younger, and especially in the Syracuse area. So when I was looking for my next inspiration as to what I wanted to write about, I live in Charlotte. The characters live in Charlotte. NASCAR lives and breathes in Charlotte. So it really made sense to kind of tie that all together. But in order to do that, I had to learn a lot about NASCAR. And again, because anybody that is a NASCAR fan, anybody that does understand that world is going to call me out on it if I don't have my research down. So there was more research for me in this book than there has been so far, simply because I did not know about this subject that I wanted to write about. Now, the good thing about it is that NASCAR is kind of the overlying theme, but I don't beat you over the head with NASCAR. It's not really necessarily what the whole book is about. It just so happens to be, a murder mystery that is set in and around that world. So you're not living and breathing the track all day long as you're reading the book. I mean, it's a part of it here and there, but I still had to learn about it. I had to learn some of the terminology. I had to learn, really even, what NASCAR meant. I mean, I just didn't know. I'm a baseball guy. I like baseball. I go to baseball games. I enjoy that world. So NASCAR, it took a lot for me to understand that it was truly a sport. And I don't mean any disrespect for that world. It's just not something I grew up in and was a part of. But I do and did gain a lot of respect for what it is and the people that are around it. And that helped me, I think, build a better book because of it.
That's great. I'm looking forward to digging into some of your stuff. I'm a big fan of werewolf stuff, and so it looks like some of your short stories and stuff are based in that world.
Well, not mine, but the anthology has a lot of that in there. Yes, I've never written a werewolf story, to be upfront with you and honest, but there's a lot of those in the anthology books. So when you get into the Once Upon a Wolfpack and Howling at the Moon, which are both free, by the way, you'll find a lot of that world in there. But it'll also allow you to, like I said, get an introduction into the world of Tony Razzolito PI. So that's in there too. So, as much as I would love you to buy all my books, and I won't stop you if you'd like to, if you want to kind of ease into it, grab the free anthologies and give them a whirl and make sure it's what you want, and then go grab my stuff.
Oh, I'm sure I'll dig into all of it. So I look forward to it.
Yeah.
Feel good with me.
Appreciate it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks for calling in, Ron.
Well, thanks for calling in, Ron, and keep me up to date on the new music because when you get the new album out, we'll have you back on before Zach goes off to college. So we'll make a show of that.
And remember to tell your son, fellow musician and bandmate and fellow composer. I mean, you guys are in this together. We all send our congratulations on graduating. It's a big deal.
Yeah.
Turning 18, getting out of high school, looking at the fresh world and thinking, now what?
Right. Yeah, that's kind of what's going on a little bit. But
I get up in the morning and think that.
Well, I really appreciate you saying that. All right.
Thanks, Ron.
Look forward to talking to you guys again soon. Have a great one. Thanks so much, Joe.
Thanks, Ron.
Thank you.
Now, I agree with Robert Williscroft over on Twitter. He's saying also talking about the characters bio, of course, including their likes, music, drink, transportation, etc. Then outline every detail. I have to agree with that. And Verwayne Greenhoe says, I just picked up 4 of your books, Joe.
Wow.
Well, thank you so
Check
much.
it out.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, cool.
Oh, yeah.
It works for me.
So you want to roll another one, Beem?
Yeah, I just want to throw this out, give a little plug for Ron and Zach Tippin. They are a father and son duo in a alternative prog rock band called Wide Track. They're based here in Michigan. I've got 3 or 4 of their albums on my iPod. I think it's 4. Just amazing music, amazing talent. If you're into the alternative rock and progressive rock stuff, check them out. You can find them on anywhere where you get your music from. You can find them. I got some of their stuff from their website, and I also got some of their stuff from Amazon. So.
And they got stuff that you can look at free, posted on YouTube too, if you just want to check them out before you make the investment.
Yeah. All right. Speaking of Mr. Robert G. Williscroft, here's the Second Ort Chronicle.
Now, from science fiction master Robert G. Williscroft, the Ort Federation, to the stars, the Second Ort Chronicle. As the Ort Federation becomes a major force in the solar system, Braxton Thorpe passes the Federation chairmanship to former U.S. President John Butler. Thorpe's group offers humanity virtual immortality, but Isidore Orlov and his Udachni enterprises oppose their every move. While Thorpe's group terraforms Mars for more living space, the Mars Reds prove formidable as resistors. If the Asterian Starship fighter pilots are released, will they align with Phoenix or Udachni? And who will develop the right FTL technology? In this tense space adventure, Thorpe, his team, and Max the Tabby Cat travel to Proxima Centauri and beyond to the Aster system, 84 light-years distant. Will Thorpe bring together humans and Asterians in their quest for intergalactic travel? Will long life prove more than mere humans can handle? Grab Icicle, a tensor matrix, the first Ort Chronicle, and continue the journey with the Ort Federation to the stars. Proudly published in all print, digital, and sensory-enhanced audiobooks by Fresh Ink Group.
Yes. And that audiobook, we are in the middle of it, and it should be done before too long, so keep an ear out for that one as well.
Yeah.
Now, we have, Joe, we have heard about Tony Razzalito, private investigator. Tell us a little bit about this Rasman Mystery Crime Files series that you've written.
Okay.
Sell us some books.
Sell us some books.
Well, alrighty. Well, Tony Razzalito, PI, is that they call him Razman. That's kind of his nickname in the book itself, in the books themselves. The first one, Dead is Forever. That took me over 20 plus years to write. Just to give you an idea where my thought was back then, I thought I was going to be a cartoonist. That's really what I wanted to do when I was younger, and that kind of eventually led me to where I had done the illustrations for the VCR book, but I really got caught up in that world a little bit more than I thought I was going to when it came to the publishing portion of it. It gave me a really good idea of how that worked, And I find that I have the gift of gab. I like to talk a lot more than I probably like to draw pictures. So I started thinking in terms of, hey, what if I wanted to write a book? If Dave can write a book, why can't I write a book? And so I started thinking what I want to write about. And like I said, being a fan of Robert B. Parker's work, it kind of made me think in terms of PI type of novels. But I did it a little differently. I took the character, and he was actually an out-of-work appliance salesman, and really played a video, or not really a video game, but a game on TV that was called Crime of the Century, that was just a game show, essentially, and he was pretty good at it, and he thought, well, maybe he could become a real live private detective if he could be good with this game show. Why can't he actually solve a real crime? So the first book, Dead is Forever, really is kind of more of a coming of age story, if you will, for Tony Razzolito, and it's more of him being an amateur detective, really kind of figuring out how to do that job. His best friend happens to be a police officer on the Syracuse City Police Department, and so he kind of helps him with the murder that they're trying to solve. And I mean, I can talk about who died, because she dies in the very first chapter, the very first part of the chapter. But Tony Razzolito's wife gets murdered, and then this really becomes more of a how done it than a who done it, because you know in this particular book who actually created, or who actually murdered his wife. It's just a matter of how Tony Razzolito is going to catch him, if you will. So that whole thing was a little bit different than the next one. So then I went into the Deadly Passion, which is really probably about 5 years later in time, and Tony in that book is more of a seasoned private eye. But in order to really kind of close the gap, if you will, between those two books, called the Rasman Chronicles, which is a trio of short stories. It's got 3 short stories in there that kind of age Tony, if you will, through the process of becoming that seasoned detective that he is in Deadly Passion. So it allows you to kind of connect those dots as to, boy, I just read Dead is Forever. He can't find his own left arm. Now in Deadly Passion, he's solving crimes like a superhero. So how did he become better at who he was? So Rasman Chronicles really kind of helps through that with those 3 stories. And then Dirty Air comes out after Deadly Passion, really is book 3. And again, he's the more seasoned detective. Now he's solving a crime that he knows nothing about the world of NASCAR either. So he's a wisecracking type of detective. But he's good at his job. He's got a long-term girlfriend that he met in those 3 first short stories, because, again, I liked the idea that he had someone in his life that he could kind of share things with and talk about, and kind of, bounce things off of when he wasn't working with his partners in the agency. And but since his wife had died in the first book, I had to kind of get him a girlfriend, but not make it seem like he just left his dead wife and became, engaged in somebody else, kind of a thing. So the 3 stories really kind of help with that as well, in the Rasman Chronicles. So that's really what that is about. I mean, the whole thing is really just him being a good private eye. He's got an arch nemesis and a police detective, a homicide detective that's in the Charlotte Police Department that they don't get along at all. He was introduced in the Deadly Passion book, and that crime that he couldn't solve, a particular crime that was 20 years old, and he needed the help of the PI to really kind of help him solve that crime. And of course they just knocked heads the whole time in that book, and I really liked the way that worked, that play off of each other. So I kept him around in Dirty Air, and he'll probably always have him as the anti-hero, if you will, throughout the rest of the series. So I know I kind of jumped around a lot there, but that's pretty much what that's all about.
So what's next? What's next for Tony Razzolitos? You got more cases coming, or are you going to shift your interest to some other kind of stories?
No, actually, well, I'm working on one right now, and unfortunately, I don't work as quick as I'd like to be able to work, because I still have a regular job as well. So it kind of I think in my head sometimes I can write faster than I really can, and I have a book coming out called Top of the Third, which is another 3-story compilation of Tony Razzalito with 3 different murder mysteries, if you will, in that one book, but they're baseball related, so that's why it's called Top of the Third. The first story actually takes place in Cooperstown, where he and his brother, he went up to Syracuse. Him and his brother went to see Cooperstown and the Hall of Fame and all that. There's a murder that takes place there while they happen to be there, and then the next story has to do with Little League. There's a murder that takes place around a Little League game, and then the third story is more of a minor league ballpark kind of a story, and there's a murder that takes place there. So I'm in the middle of the third story on that. As soon as I get that finished up, I will get that book out. But they're all tied to the sports theme with baseball. After that book, I've got a couple other ideas I want to explore before I go right back to the next Tony Razzalito book after that one. I do have it kind of charted out for the most part what the next Razzalito book is going to be. The next full book is going to be called Last Rites, and it does have to do with some killings that happened. There's going to be a little religion tied into that one, and it's going to be a little bit more ominous than some of the other books were. But I'm probably not going to get to that one until towards the end of the year, and it won't come out until next year, because I do want to explore just a couple of different things that I haven't really done, but I kind of have an interest in. And part of that is it's still kind of staying in mystery, but more of like a brosy kind of a thing, where it's going to be a little bit more lighthearted, maybe take place in the mountains of North Carolina, small town kind of a deal. I want to explore that a little bit and see where I can go with that idea before I get back to the next book, Last Rites with Tony Razzalito. So
cool. Well, how do you publish these? Do you work with a publisher? You self-publish? What's your system?
I do it myself. I'm a one-man band here. I'm eventually probably going to try to do it differently, because I think that's part of what keeps me slowed down as well, is trying to do a lot of that myself. I do have a couple beta readers. I do have people that help me with the editing and all that. But I don't work with a specific company at this point, just because I just haven't. There's no real reason. I just kind of started doing it on my own and kept doing it that way for now. But it is something I'll probably explore. I'm looking to wind down and getting more into this as more of a full-time thing once we get towards the end of the year. And at that point, I'm probably going to explore maybe, other ways of getting it published. So.
And you're doing your own covers as well?
No, that I don't do. Those I do. I do have. Actually, I've been using self-pub book covers, and I like what they have, and they've had a cover for everything that I've wanted so far. So there's a lot of great companies out there. It just so happens to be the ones that I've liked the best so far.
Well, what kind of advice do you have for other authors, especially those that are just starting to take that step into writing and publishing and all of that? Any advice?
Yeah, I think really reading a lot, and not just in your own genre. And that's something that I learned. You can learn a lot about story structure and, what to do and what not to do by not only reading, of course, in the genre that you are most interested in, that you're going to write in, but by reading other genres, things that maybe you didn't think you had an interest in, but it's just good storytelling. So, get in there and find out how that was put together. So I look at it as a fan first when I'm reading it, and then I kind of analyze it a little bit more after that. So I would say that definitely, do a lot of reading, because I think that to be a good writer, you have to be someone that reads. And I think, like I said, reading outside the genre that you're most comfortable in will kind of help push your limits a little bit further to do a better job.
And it never hurts to try writing a short story in one of those genres that you're not familiar with, too. Could be a lot of fun. Could open some new doors for you.
It's funny you say that.
So today's guest is author Joe Congel.
Yeah.
Joe, how do people get a hold of you? How do people find you out there?
Well, they can find me. I've got Facebook, Joe Congel Author. They can get me there on Facebook. On Twitter at Joe Congel Author. My books are of course on Amazon. You can also go to Indie. God, now I'm losing my mind here. But Indie Booksource. You can get my stuff there at indiebooksource.com. And I've got a couple of the books are actually you can get through Barnes and Noble, you can get through Apple, that kind of thing. Not all of them, but a couple of them that way as well. And that's how you get a hold of me.
All right. Well, it looks like we're about out of time. That time just flies right by.
Yeah, we appreciate you coming on the show, Joe. I owe you
I appreciate it.
And I owe you a free book. I've tried to pull it off the shelf and found I'm out of them, so I had to order more copies of the book you requested. It'll be a couple more weeks probably before you get it, but keep us surprised. Let us know when new Razzolitos or other works come out, so we can put them in our newsletter. Okay. Maybe get you back on the show again. We got lots of questions we didn't even get to today, so I know. We look forward to having you again.
Well, thank you so much. I had a great time. I appreciate it.
And so our next guest is going to be May 4th. That is author Sally Cronin. And that episode is going to be one of our rare pre-recorded, because Sally is going to be calling from Ireland. So we'll do the interview on Monday, but we will play it at our normal time on Wednesday night. And we will be monitoring Twitter that night. So you can still listen, and if you have comments, you can, put them on there, and we'll answer on Twitter. So May 4th, Sally Cronin.
And then May 11th, we're going to have author A.G. Fletcher. He has a young adult novel series, which is quite cool, with some cool-looking covers. We're looking forward to having him.
And May 18th, we're going to have a longtime friend of the show, Betty A. Stevens. And we finally got her on, so
finally got her.
That May 18th. We've been trying to wrestle her in here, but she's been busy, so we finally got her on. So May 18th.
She's a retired school teacher in Vermont, and she has some very cool books. After that, May 25th, we've got Jason Gwynn, and I know almost nothing about Jason. Beem booked him, and we're getting his stuff put together. So I'm looking forward to learning about author Jason Gwynn as much as you are on May 25th.
Yeah, and soon we will have Kenneth Lindquist. He was supposed to be on, but we had to. He had some other things going on, so we weren't able to have him on. Was it last week? I think it was.
Yeah.
He was supposed to be on. He's got How to Teach Driver's Ed books that are going to be coming out here before too long. So keep an ear out for that, and we'll get the news in the newsletter.
So remember, everybody, spread the word, subscribe, forward those newsletters, share the links, and we appreciate all your support. Thanks for coming on the show again today, Joe.
Thanks, Joe.
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Absolutely.
All right. We will talk to you all next week, everybody. Stay safe.
Bye.
You've been a part of Voice of Indie, a production of Fresh Ink Group. Spread the word, support our guests, then find us at freshinkgroup.com and be sure to hashtag Fresh Ink Group.